You're probably wondering why our city looks like this, Ariella said, glancing over at Liam. We believe that nature and technology should never be separate. Our structures are alive in a way. They adapt, they heal, and they grow. The way we build our cities is how we live, continuously evolving. Liam nodded, impressed but still feeling a little out of his depth. I didn't expect this, he admitted. Where I come from, cities are, well, man-made. We build with metal and stone, not like this. Ariella smiled. Most humans think that way. But our people see the universe as a living entity. We don't conquer it, we work with it. Every structure you see here was designed to grow in harmony with the land, not against it. Liam looked around, trying to take it all in. It wasn't just the city that was different. It was everything. The air felt lighter here, like it was filled with something that couldn't quite be explained. The colors of the sky, the sounds of the distant wildlife, even the way the wind moved. It was all foreign to him. This place is amazing, Liam said, genuinely awed. I've never seen anything like it. It's my home, Ariella said, her voice softening. And one of the reasons I've brought you here is to show you how we see the world. Before we can discuss peace, before we can trust each other, I want you to understand who we are. Liam was quiet for a moment, trying to find the right words. He had always been a soldier, practical, tactical, and focused on the mission. But here, with Ariella, he was beginning to feel like he was a student once again, learning something he had never considered before. I don't think we humans have ever truly understood other species like we should, Liam said slowly. We're always focused on ourselves, on what we need, what we want. But we rarely think about the other side, the other cultures. I guess I've never thought much about what it takes to truly understand another people. Ariella looked at him then, her expression unreadable for a moment. Most humans think peace is just about agreements and treaties. But it's not. It's about understanding. It's about seeing each other for who we really are, not just for what we want from each other. She paused. You have to trust the other side. And that trust starts with understanding. Liam nodded, feeling the weight of her words. They walked in silence for a few moments, and then Ariella stopped suddenly, turning to face him. There's something I want to show you, she said, her voice low. Something that's part of who I am and what my people believe. Curiosity sparked within him. What is it? Without answering, Ariella led him into a large, open courtyard at the center of the city. In the middle of the courtyard stood a massive tree, its trunk wide and twisting, its branches stretching high above them. The tree was unlike anything Liam had ever seen. Its bark shimmered with soft, iridescent colors, and the leaves seemed to move even though there was no breeze. This tree, Ariella said, her voice soft but steady, is sacred to my people. It's not just a tree. It's a symbol of life, of connection. We believe that all living things are interconnected, just like the branches of a tree. We share the same roots, and when one part of the tree is harmed, the entire tree suffers. Liam stepped closer, his eyes wide. The tree seemed to pulse with energy, almost as if it had a life of its own. It's beautiful, he whispered, feeling an unexpected sense of awe. It is, Ariella agreed, and it reminds us of the importance of balance. We don't take more than we need. We don't destroy for the sake of progress. We live in harmony with the land and the creatures around us. Liam turned to her. This is why you don't wear pants, isn't it? Ariella's lips quirked upward. Yes? It's a symbol of vulnerability and openness. When I wear pants, it's a sign that I'm closing myself off from the world. But when I don't wear them, I'm showing that I trust the universe and the people around me. She stepped closer to the tree, her hands resting gently on its trunk. We are part of something larger, and we must respect it. Liam watched her for a moment, his mind swirling with new ideas. He had been raised to see the universe as something to conquer, to dominate. But Ariella's world was different. Her people had learned to live with the universe, not against it. The idea of trust, of vulnerability, was something he had never fully considered. I never thought of it that way, he admitted, feeling a deep sense of respect for her and her people. I've always been taught that strength comes from control, from protecting yourself, from building walls. Ariella turned to face him again, her expression serious. Strength doesn't come from control. It comes from trust, from allowing yourself to be vulnerable and relying on others. True strength is knowing when to protect and when to open yourself to the world. Liam was quiet, absorbing her words. He had always thought of himself as strong, physically, mentally, emotionally. But now, standing in this alien city, surrounded by an alien culture, he began to question what real strength meant. "I want to understand more," Liam said finally, his voice steady. "About you. About your people. About what makes you strong." Ariella's eyes softened and she gave a small nod. "That's why you're here, Liam. To understand. And to see the truth of who we are." As they stood there, in the shadow of the great tree, the weight of her words hung in the air. Liam had come to this world to negotiate peace, to protect his people. But now he realized the mission was about more than that. It was about trust. It was about understanding the other side, not just as an enemy, but as a people, with their own beliefs, their own culture, and their own ways of seeing the universe. The peace talks would come soon. The stakes were higher than ever. But for the first time, Liam felt something else, something that made the mission feel less like a duty and more like a journey to understand, a journey to trust, and perhaps, just perhaps, a journey that would change everything. The next few days passed quickly. The peace talks were in full swing, with both human and Terry representatives gathered around a massive circular table in the heart of the alien capital. The discussions were tense, filled with back-and-forth exchanges that felt more like a battlefield than a conference room. Both sides had their demands, their pride, and their fears. But amidst all the negotiations, Liam and Princess Ariella found themselves in a different kind of exchange, one that wasn't about treaties or alliances, but trust. Over meals and in quiet moments away from the formalities, they continued to talk. Ariella opened up more about her people's values, their history, and the principles that had guided them for centuries. Liam, in turn, shared stories of Earth's history, its wars, its triumphs, and its failures. Despite the vast differences between their worlds, the two of them found common ground in the stories of their respective pasts. But beneath the surface, the tension between their factions remained high. The human delegation was growing restless. Feeling the pressure of the talks, and the Terry were equally wary. There had been rumors of dissent within the ranks of the Terry leadership. Some believed that an alliance with humanity would lead to weakness. Others feared what might happen if the humans gained too much power. Liam couldn't help but feel that the situation was on the edge of falling apart. He knew that if peace was to be achieved, something drastic would need to happen, something that would prove the commitment of both sides. One evening, after a particularly heated debate, Princess Ariella invited Liam to accompany her on a ride outside the city. It was an offer he couldn't refuse, especially after the tension of the day. The princess had always been open with him, and he found himself starting to trust her in ways he hadn't expected. They walked out of the palace grounds and into a lush forest that surrounded the city. The trees here were enormous, their leaves shimmering like silver in the dimming light. Ariella led him to a pair of sleek alien creatures that were tethered to a nearby post. The creatures resembled large horses, but were covered in soft, glowing scales. Their eyes were intelligent, almost human-like. "They're called Vera," Ariella explained, running her hand over the creature's back. "They're the primary means of transport here on our planet. Gentle, but powerful." Liam was impressed. "They're beautiful." Ariella smiled, her expression softening. "Just like us," she said, her eyes meeting his for a brief moment. "Now get on. It's time to see what the world looks like from a different perspective." Liam hesitated for only a moment before he mounted one of the creatures. Ariella followed suit, and they rode in silence through the dense forest, the only sounds being the soft rustle of the leaves and the rhythmic beat of the Vera's hooves. As they rode, the forest opened up into a vast, open plain. The sky above was a mixture of pink and purple, the twin suns setting on the horizon. It was a beautiful sight, one that made Liam forget for a moment the weight of the peace talks. Ariella slowed her Vera to a stop and dismounted, her bare feet landing softly on the grass. Liam followed suit, his boots sinking slightly into the ground. He watched her as she stood there gazing out at the horizon. "Why did you bring me here?" Liam asked, breaking the silence. Ariella turned to face him, her eyes serious. "I wanted to show you something. Something that might help you understand what's at stake." Liam raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" The princess reached into the pouch at her side and pulled out a small, glowing stone. It was about the size of a fist, its surface smooth and shimmering. She held it out to him. "This is a Feyru," she explained. "It's a symbol of our people's power and unity. But it's also a symbol of what we stand to lose if these talks fail." Liam took the stone from her, feeling its warmth in his hands. It glowed faintly, the light pulsing in time with his heartbeat. It was beautiful, almost mesmerizing. Ariella's eyes darkened. "The Feyru is a gift given only to those we trust completely. It's a token of our bond. We use it to connect with each other, to share our strength and our resolve. But it can only be given once. If it's lost or broken, it can never be replaced." Liam looked up from the stone, meeting her gaze. "And if the talks fail, what happens to this?" "Then we lose more than just an alliance," Ariella said softly. "We lose our unity. Our people will fall into disarray, and we'll be at war. No longer allies, but enemies. There's a part of me that's afraid, Liam. Afraid that this is the beginning of the end." Liam felt a chill run down his spine. He had known the stakes were high, but hearing it like this made it all feel so real. Ariella wasn't just talking about political alliances. She was talking about the very survival of her people. "What can I do?" Liam asked quietly. Ariella didn't answer right away. She stepped forward, her eyes never leaving his. "I trust you, Liam," she said softly. "I trust you to understand. This is bigger than just a treaty. This is about the future of everything we hold dear." Liam nodded, his mind racing. He couldn't back down now. He couldn't let everything they had worked for fall apart. "I'll do everything I can." The moment lingered between them, heavy with the weight of unspoken understanding. And then suddenly a loud noise broke the silence. A distant explosion echoed across the plain, followed by a series of smaller bursts. The ground shook beneath them, and the Vera became agitated, stamping their hooves and snorting in distress. Liam's heart raced. "What the hell was that?" Ariella's expression hardened. "It's an attack. We need to go back now." Without another word, she mounted her Vera and urged it into a gallop. Liam followed close behind, his mind already racing through the possibilities. An attack on the Terry capital? Had the humans been compromised? Was it the rival faction trying to sabotage the talks? As they neared the city, the sounds of chaos grew louder. The normally peaceful atmosphere was replaced by the sound of blaring alarms and shouting voices. Terry soldiers ran through the streets, mobilizing quickly to defend the city. Liam's eyes darted around, searching for any sign of the enemy. The princess didn't hesitate. She urged her Vera forward, weaving through the chaos with practiced ease. Liam followed her, doing his best to keep up. They reached the palace gates just as a group of Terry soldiers engaged in a skirmish with a group of heavily armed attackers. The attackers wore dark armor, their faces obscured by helmets. Liam didn't waste a second. He dismounted quickly, drawing his sidearm as he moved to join the fray. But Ariella held out a hand to stop him. "Stay close to me," she commanded. "This is my fight." Liam hesitated for only a moment before nodding. He trusted her. She had shown him time and again that she wasn't just a princess, she was a warrior. Ariella stepped forward, drawing a weapon of her own, a glowing, curved blade that seemed to hum with energy. She moved with incredible speed, her blade cutting through the attackers with precision. Liam followed, watching in awe as she fought, her movements fluid and graceful, as if she were dancing rather than fighting. The attackers, caught off guard by the princess's ferocity, quickly began to retreat. But not before one of them launched a grenade at the group. Liam's instincts kicked in. He pushed Ariella to the ground, taking the brunt of the blast himself. The world around him exploded into white light and deafening noise. He felt himself falling, the pain radiating through his body. But through the haze of pain, he heard Ariella's voice, urgent and filled with fear. "Liam!" The world around Liam was a blur of pain and noise. His ears rang and his vision swam as he struggled to regain his senses. The grenade had exploded just a few feet away from him, throwing him to the ground and shaking the earth beneath him. His body ached, his head throbbed, and his ears buzzed with the after effects of the blast. For a moment, he didn't know where he was or what had happened. He blinked rapidly, trying to clear the fog in his mind. But all he could focus on was the sharp pain in his side and the warm blood that seeped through his uniform. He could hear shouting, the clash of weapons, and the distant roar of the city's alarm system. Then he heard it, her voice. Liam. Ariella's voice cut through the chaos, filled with urgency and fear. He could barely make out her silhouette above him, but her eyes, full of concern, were unmistakable. She was kneeling beside him, her bare hands reaching for him, gently lifting his head. "Liam, stay with me," she said, her voice trembling. "I won't let anything happen to you." Liam tried to smile, but the pain in his chest made it impossible. He had no idea how badly he was hurt, but the blood on his uniform told him it wasn't good. "I'm fine," he managed to say, though his voice was weak. "I just need to—" "No, you're not fine," Ariella interrupted, her hands trembling as she checked his wounds. Her face was pale, her eyes filled with worry. "You've been hit. You need medical attention." Liam tried to sit up, but the dizziness and weakness from the blast made it difficult. He collapsed back into her arms, his head resting on her lap. Ariella's hands were gentle but firm as she pressed against his side, trying to slow the bleeding. "I've got you," she whispered, her voice low and soothing. "I won't leave you." Despite the pain, despite the chaos around them, Liam felt a strange sense of calm. He trusted her. He had always trusted her, even when everything else seemed uncertain. In that moment, nothing else mattered except for her presence beside him. The sounds of the fight were growing louder as the Terry soldiers pushed back the attackers. Liam could hear the clash of weapons and the distant hum of energy shields. But his focus remained on Ariella, on the way she held him, the way she spoke to him with such tenderness. "You need to rest, Liam," Ariella said, her voice filled with concern. "Just stay with me. Help is on the way." But Liam shook his head, weakly. "No, don't. The talks, they need to." Ariella's eyes softened and she leaned in closer, her forehead resting against his. "The talks can wait. You can't do anything if you're not well. You've given enough." For a moment, they sat in silence, the distant sounds of the battle slowly fading as the Terry forces gained the upper hand. Ariella's hands were still pressed against his side, her touch gentle and steady. Her presence was a comfort, even as the world seemed to spin around him. "Liam, listen to me," Ariella said after a few moments, her voice steady and firm. "You have to trust me. I've always been honest with you. The peace talks are important, yes, but your life is just as important to me. You've risked everything. For me, for my people. And now I'm asking you to trust me when I say we'll fix this. We'll find a way to save everything we've worked for." Liam tried to focus on her words, but the pain made it hard. Still, he understood. The urgency of the situation was clear, but the bond between them was even clearer. Ariella wasn't just a princess to him anymore. She was someone he could trust with his life, someone who had shown him the true meaning of strength. "You're not alone in this," she continued softly. "We'll get through this together." Ariella's hands never left his side, and her gaze never wavered. She stayed with him, her presence a constant reassurance in the midst of chaos. Liam's breathing slowed as the pain began to subside, but he couldn't help but feel the weight of her words. The sounds of the battle finally stopped, replaced by the steady hum of medical drones approaching. A group of Terry soldiers arrived, carefully moving Liam onto a hovering stretcher and transporting him to the nearby medical bay. Ariella stayed close by his side, her eyes never leaving his face. As they entered the medical bay, Liam was quickly surrounded by medical personnel. He could feel the cool pressure of alien technology being applied to his wounds, but his thoughts remained focused on Ariella. "You'll be fine," she whispered as the medical drones worked. "Just hang in there, Liam." Liam nodded weakly, but his mind was already racing. He could feel the bond between him and the princess growing stronger, and despite the chaos, he knew that they had formed a connection that went beyond politics or treaties. They had become something more, partners in a fight for peace, for survival. As the medical team finished treating his wounds, Ariella remained at his side, her hand gently resting on his. The pain in his side had lessened, and his vision was clearing. He could finally breathe without the sharp stab of pain. "You're going to be okay," Ariella said softly, her voice filled with relief. "You'll be up and walking in no time." Liam smiled weakly. "I'm not going anywhere. Not without you." Ariella's lips curled into a smile, but there was something more in her eyes. A glimmer of hope, of trust, of understanding. "Good," she said, "because I'm not going anywhere without you either." The days that followed were filled with recovery and careful negotiations. The attackers, a rogue faction within the Terry military, were swiftly dealt with, and the immediate threat to the peace talks was neutralized. But the real work had just begun. Liam's recovery was slow, but Ariella stayed by his side every step of the way. She never left him, never wavered in her commitment to him or to the peace they were working so hard to achieve. Together they continued to negotiate with the other factions, determined to see their mission through. It wasn't easy. There were still moments of doubt, moments when the weight of their responsibilities threatened to pull them apart. But through it all, they had each other. Their bond was unbreakable, forged in the heat of battle and the quiet moments of trust they shared. And in the end, peace was achieved, not just through treaties and agreements, but through the trust and understanding between two people from different worlds. The princess, no longer just a symbol of her people, had become his equal, and together, they had proven that peace could be more than just an idea. It could be a reality. As the negotiations were finally concluded and the peace was secured, Ariella turned to Liam, her expression soft but filled with determination. "You did it," she said, her voice steady and proud. "We did it." Liam smiled, his body still aching but his heart full. "We did it," he agreed. "Together." And as the two of them stood side by side, the future seemed brighter than it ever had before. The galaxy had been changed, not by war or destruction, but by the simple, powerful force of trust. Liam stood at the edge of the landing pad, scanning the alien world before him. His boots crunched softly against the sandy surface as the small transport ship behind him hummed quietly. The planet's twin suns beat down, casting long shadows across the barren landscape. The air was dry, and the wind carried the faint scent of alien flora he could not name. But all he could focus on was the mission. He was part of a diplomatic team sent to establish peace between the Human Confederation and the alien factions of the Terry species. His orders were simple: observe, report, and maintain peace. The stakes were high and tensions had been building for months. A small mistake could ignite a war. That was why his team had been sent, the best of the best. But even the best couldn't prepare for what he was about to face. "Get ready, Liam," said Captain Hayes, his superior, as he adjusted the settings on his helmet. "The princess is on her way. Remember, this is a delicate situation." Liam nodded, adjusting his own helmet. He had seen many strange things in his time in space, but nothing quite like this. The sound of approaching footsteps broke the silence. A figure appeared on the horizon, accompanied by a few soldiers. As the figure drew closer, Liam's heart skipped a beat. There she was, the princess of the Terry, Ariella. She was tall, with silver blue skin that shimmered in the sunlight. Her eyes, large and almond-shaped, gleamed with intelligence and something else, something fierce. Her long hair was the color of midnight, flowing freely behind her, catching the wind. But what struck Liam the most was what she wasn't wearing. The princess was dressed in a flowing ethereal gown, its fabric gliding around her form with every step. But there was one major thing missing. She wasn't wearing pants. Instead, she stood confidently, her posture straight and proud, as if the absence of them was entirely natural. Liam tried not to let his surprise show. He had been briefed on the alien species, but no one had mentioned anything about this. His eyes flicked nervously to the other members of the human delegation, but they seemed equally confused. The Terry soldiers around the princess were stone-faced, as though this was a completely normal occurrence. "Welcome, human envoy," Princess Ariella's voice rang out, clear and commanding. "I trust your journey was comfortable?" Liam took a moment to compose himself. Yes, Your Highness. The journey was smooth. We appreciate your hospitality." He bowed his head slightly, following the diplomatic protocol. "We are honored to be here." The princess smiled, but it wasn't a smile of warmth. It was more of a knowing grin, one that suggested she saw right through him. "It's good to see humans so eager to talk of peace," she said, her tone both teasing and serious. "But I wonder, how will you respond to a gesture of trust?" Liam's brow furrowed. "A gesture of trust?" he repeated, trying to make sense of what she meant. Without waiting for an answer, Ariella stepped forward, her bare feet making no sound on the sandy ground. She came closer until she was only a few feet away from Liam. She tilted her head slightly, studying him with an intensity that made him feel both exposed and intrigued. "You see, Liam," she began, her voice softening, "where I come from, the act of wearing pants signifies distance. It is a symbol of formality and control. But I have no need for that. Not here. Not now." She paused, watching his reaction carefully. Liam blinked. He had no idea how to respond to that. The cultural differences between humans and the Terry were already vast, but this was something else entirely. He couldn't help but glance down, trying to understand why she would choose to dress this way. Her bare legs were long and graceful, and though he tried not to stare, his curiosity got the better of him. Ariella caught his glance, her lips curling into a slight smirk. "You wonder why I'm not wearing pants, don't you?" Liam cleared his throat. It's not what I expected," he admitted, his voice a little shaky. She laughed softly, a sound that was both melodic and full of amusement. "Most humans think the same when they first see me, but it's a symbol of openness, of trust. When I stand before you like this, I am showing you that I have nothing to hide. There is no barrier between us, only honesty." She looked him in the eye. "You see, Liam, in my world, trust is the foundation of everything. A relationship, a treaty, an alliance, it all begins with trust. And this is my way of offering it to you." Liam didn't know what to say. He had heard of alien customs before, but this was new. His training had never covered situations like this, and yet he couldn't deny the truth in her words. There was something about the princess that made him feel as though he was standing before someone completely different, yet strangely familiar. She exuded an air of confidence that was almost disarming. "That's an interesting custom," Liam said, trying to sound diplomatic. He still wasn't sure how to respond, but he could see that Ariella wasn't looking for mockery. She was looking for understanding. Ariella's expression softened slightly. "It's a symbol of who I am, Liam. I lead with my heart, not my pride. It is a choice to be vulnerable, to take risks. Perhaps you humans could learn from that." Before Liam could respond, the captain stepped forward, breaking the tension. "Your Highness, we appreciate the gesture, and we are here for peace. That is our sole mission." Ariella's eyes flicked to Captain Hayes, then back to Liam. "Yes, I've heard about your mission. But remember, peace is a fragile thing. It can be destroyed in an instant." She turned her gaze to the horizon, her posture straight. "And yet, here you are on my planet asking for it, but be warned, if peace is to be achieved, it will require trust. Real trust. Not just words, but actions. Are you ready for that, Liam?" Liam swallowed hard. We are, he replied, though part of him wasn't entirely sure. This mission was unlike anything he had experienced before. Ariella's smile returned, this time softer. Good. Let's see if we can trust each other then. With that, the princess turned and walked back to her group, leaving Liam to stand there, still processing what had just happened. The human delegation exchanged uncertain glances, but no one spoke. There was something about the princess that was both intimidating and strangely alluring. Liam couldn't help but wonder if he was ready for the challenges ahead. The peace talks would be difficult, no doubt, but after meeting the princess, he realized that there was much more at stake than just politics. Trust, loyalty, and perhaps even friendship would be tested in ways he had never imagined. And it all began with a simple gesture, one that would shape the future of both their worlds. Next day, Liam found himself once again standing at the edge of the alien capital, this time beside Princess Ariella. The peace talks were set to begin in a few hours, but before anything official could happen, the princess had requested that Liam accompany her on a tour of the city. It was a strange request, considering the situation at hand, but Liam had learned by now not to question Ariella's ways. She did everything with purpose, even if that purpose was sometimes unclear. "Follow me," she said, turning and walking ahead without waiting for a response. Her long gown swished around her legs, and her bare feet moved gracefully across the stone path. It was as if the ground beneath her didn't even matter. Liam hesitated for a moment but quickly caught up to her. As they walked, Ariella pointed out various structures, tall, sleek buildings that seemed to have a natural, organic design. The architecture wasn't quite like anything he had ever seen before. The buildings seemed to grow from the ground itself, their surfaces shimmering with an almost living glow. It was both beautiful and intimidating, as though they had been created by a species far beyond human comprehension.